child in Douglas County, went swimming in the Elkhorn River in August and was subsequently hospitalized. The patient died within 10 days of becoming infected. Symptoms of
Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another video. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right, so the diseased are here. All right, and what we have is an article from NBC News and a couple other articles talking about these issues that people are having from water that is infested with a organism that eats people's brains. All right, a Florida man dies from brain-eating amoeba, possibly after rinsing nose with tap water, health officials say. Such infections are very rare, and people cannot be infected by drinking tap water, state health officials in Charlotte County said. Now, that's interesting because we're going to look at some other articles where this exact same organism ate the brains of other people, okay? A man in Florida died from a brain-eating amoeba that he may have contracted after he rinsed his sinuses with tap water, health officials said. The state's health department in Charlotte County said in a February 23rd news release that it is continuing to investigate the cause of Naegleria, I think, fowleri infection. Naegleria, that's it. Naegleria fowleri. Okay, Naegleria fowleri infection. The patient has not been publicly identified. N. fowleri is a single-celled organism that can be found in soil and fresh water around the world. It likes heat and grows best at high temperatures, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So infections are most commonly reported in the summer. Most come from swimming in warm lakes or rivers. Overall, such infections are very rare, arising only when contaminated water enters through the sinuses. You cannot be infected by drinking tap water, the health department emphasizes in the statement. I don't know if I'd be comfortable at all knowing that I drank water that could possibly have this organism that can eat your brain in it. I wouldn't feel good. That would make me very uncomfortable if I knew that that organism had the potential to be in water that I was ingesting into my body. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. The agency urged members of the public to use distilled or sterile water. They rinse their sinuses, a practice that typically involves neti pots, which I don't know what that is. If you guys know what that is or what those are, please make sure that you leave it in the comment section. Tap water should be boiled for at least 1 minute and cooled before sinus rinsing, the release said. There were 3 confirmed cases of N. fowleri last year, according to the CDC, which occurred after exposure to fresh water in Iowa, Nebraska, and Arizona. 3 cases were also reported each year in 2019, 2020, and 2021. The patient in last year's Iowa case was a Missouri resident who got infected after having swum in the Lake of Three Fires in Taylor County in June. Oh, the Lake of Three Fires. Whew. And her brain was burning. You know what I'm saying? The Iowa lake was temporarily closed after the patient was diagnosed. In Nebraska, a child in Douglas County went swimming in the Elkhorn River in August and was subsequently hospitalized. The patient died within 10 days of becoming infected. Symptoms of an N. fowleri infection include headaches, fever, nausea, loss of balance, disorientation, seizures, and a stiff neck. The disease progresses quickly after symptoms start, and patients usually die within 18 days or less. So that's scary. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that it can be in tap water, that's even more scary. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to look at an article, actually a couple articles that talk about some of the past cases with this. Okay. And if you guys recall the states that they mentioned, I believe the cases that we're actually going to talk about are not in the states that were mentioned in that NBC article. Like this one, for instance, a brain-eating amoeba claims the life of a 6-year-old boy in Texas. Okay. A 6-year-old boy in Lake Jackson, Texas, died earlier this month from an infection caused by a brain-eating amoeba that was found in the water of a splash fountain that the boy had played in earlier. Josiah Christopher McIntyre started complaining of a headache and other symptoms around September 3rd. His mother, Maria Castillo, told CNN on Monday. He then developed a fever and started vomiting. The next day, Josiah was taken to the emergency room and was tested for flu, COVID-19, and strep, but all three were negative. Castillo said she began worrying when his symptoms were not improving. Finally, on September 6th, Castillo took Josiah to Texas Children's Hospital in Houston, where he was admitted to the neurological intensive care unit. He underwent a number of CT scans that showed swelling in the brain, which continued to worsen. Late Monday night or very early Tuesday morning, they told us they believed it was this brain-eating amoeba, Castillo said. They explained the rarity of this amoeba and that out of the few cases that they have been very little survivors and that there was no treatment. The little boy was suffering from primary amoebic menincephalitis, which was caused by the infection of a single-celled amoeba, Naegleria fowleri, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. These types of infections are rare, but almost always fatal. Josiah died on the evening of September 8th, according to his mother. Castillo said once he was removed from various medical machines, his heart eventually stopped beating. The family is doing an autopsy and the results are pending. Okay, so there's that. Okay. So we're not going to read the whole thing, but I will have these articles linked in the description box for people who are interested in checking this out. Okay. There was another case in Nevada. Okay. And this is an article that's coming from Live Science. All right. And what it says is that a Nevada boy dies, okay, of a rare brain-eating amoeba infection after swimming in Lake Mead. So based on these last two cases, you really want to be careful, especially in public pools or swimming areas, because it seems like that could be a place where these things really thrive. Okay. This is an article from October 21st of 2022. A child died of a brain-eating amoeba infection in Nevada. Okay. A boy in Nevada has died of a rare brain-eating amoeba infection that he likely picked up on the Arizona side of Lake Mead, the Southern Nevada Health District reported on Wednesday, October 9th. My condolences go out to the family of this young man, Dr. Furman Ligon, the district's health officer, said in the statement. While I want to reassure the public that this type of infection is an extremely rare occurrence, I know this brings no comfort to his family and friends at the time. The brain-eating amoeba, Naegleria fowleri, lives in soil and warm, fresh water, including lakes, and it causes a rare disease that affects the brain and spinal cord, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The disease, called primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, is nearly always fatal. Between 1962 and 2021, 154 U.S. residents reportedly caught PAM, and only 4 survived. People can't become infected by N. fowleri by swallowing the amoeba or interacting with someone with PAM. Rather, people become infected when the microscopic organism gets into their nose and enters the brain via the olfactory nerve, which relays information about smells from the nerve to the brain, according to the CDC. Symptoms of the infection emerge between 1 and 12 days after exposure, and people typically die 1 to 18 days after symptoms begin. Okay. The child from Clark County developed symptoms about a week after visiting Lake Mead in early October, according to the SNHD. The earliest symptoms of infection include severe frontal headaches, fever, nausea, vomiting, and later symptoms include stiff neck, seizures, altered mental status, hallucinations, and coma, the CDC states. Overall, PAM remains a very rare disease, and the chances of contracting infection are extremely low. However, people should always assume that there is a risk for infection whenever entering warm, fresh water, the CDC cautions. Okay, so again, that's one of the reasons why I made that comment about the swimming pools and the wading pools. Be very careful if you go into those kind of areas, because that's where these nasty amoebas that cause these brain-eating infections reside. Okay, attempts have been made to determine what contraction of Naegleria fowleri in the environment poses an unacceptable risk, the CDC states. To me, any exposure of it poses an unacceptable risk. This thing has a very low survival rate. However, no method currently exists that accurately and reputably measures the numbers of amoeba in the water. If you're swimming in warm, fresh water, the following precautions can help reduce the risk of PAM, according to the CDC. Avoid jumping or diving into bodies of warm, fresh water, especially during the summer. In general, N. fowleri can be found in waters from about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 26.6 degrees Celsius, to 115 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 46 degrees Celsius. It grows best at the high end of the range and can survive short periods at higher temperatures. Hold your nose shut, use nose clips, or keep your head above water when in bodies of warm, fresh water. Avoid putting your head underwater in hot springs and other untreated geothermal waters. Avoid digging in or stirring up sediment in shallow, warm, fresh water. The amoeba are more likely to live in sediment at the bottom of the lakes, ponds, and rivers. Okay, so yeah, that's not very fun sounding. Getting your brain eaten while you're chilling at a pool. You know what I'm saying? That's not the business. You know what I mean? So there are other things out here that are eating people's brains as well. And what these are drugs. Okay? They're drugs. As we all know, psychotropic drugs destroy people's brains. There's a new one out on the street called Trank. All right? And not only does it destroy your brain, but it rots your skin as well. It probably causes some type of necrosis because people use dirty transport vehicles like shared needles, and people end up getting infections. And because the priority of most of these addicts is just to get the next high and not to use clean technique, they're getting these infections in their skin, and then the infections in their skin go into their bloodstream. The infections in the bloodstream go to the heart and the brain, and more than likely, it's lights out. All right. Skin rotting drug, Trank, infiltrates big city, zombifying bodies. All right. Xylazine, otherwise known as Trank dope, and zombie drug, is wreaking havoc in major cities across the country with its devastating effects. It can literally rot the user's skin. All right. And so can potassium chloride. The substance, which seemed to appear in Philadelphia before migrating west to San Francisco and Los Angeles, was used for cutting heroin, but most recently it has been discovered in fentanyl and other illicit drugs. While approved by the Food and Drug Administration for veterinary use, xylazine, a non-opioid, is not safe for humans, and those who overdose on the drug do not respond to Narcan, the most common overdose reversal treatment, and that's because it's not a narcotic. It's not an opiate. Narcan only works for opiates. So it's just like if you had an overdose of Tylenol. If you took Narcan because of an overdose of Tylenol, it's not going to help, because Narcan is only an antidote for opiates. Xylazine causes sedative-like symptoms, such as excessive sleepiness and respiratory depression, as well as raw wounds that can become severe and spread rapidly with repeated exposure. The crusty ulcerations, which can become dead skin called eschar, can result in amputation if left untreated. Because it's not listed as a controlled substance for animals or humans, Trank lands in a confusing, horrifying gray area, and hospitals rarely test for it with routine toxicology screenings. Last month, one Philly user suddenly developed xylazine-specific wounds near her opiate injection sites. Isn't that what I said? I'd wake up in the morning crying because my arms were dying, Tracy McCann, 39, told the New York Times, and then she went out and tried to find the next hit, because that's how the brain of a drug addict works. The city reported that 90% of lab-tested dope samples from 2021 contain xylazine, which can increase the risk of overdose when combined with other illicit substances. But the lethal combination of substances is what gives xylazine its appeal. The high of the opiate, such as fentanyl, is extended with the help of tranq. It's too late for Philly. Sean Westfall, an outreach worker for Prevention Point Philadelphia, told the Times, Philly's supply is saturated. If other places around the country have a choice to avoid it, they need to hear our story. People with substance use disorders who get hooked on the zombifying drug believe the emerging substance killed any kind of joy that came with getting high. Tranq is basically zombifying people's bodies. Sam, who was 28, told Sky News. Until 9 months ago, I never had wounds. Now, there are holes in my arms, legs, and feet. The worrying tranq trend comes as the New York City Department of Health reported that 2,668 New Yorkers died of overdose in 2021. Experts warn that xylazine could worsen the ongoing drug epidemic. Dr. Gary Tsai, the director of substance abuse and prevention and control with the LA County Department of Public Health, believes the drug's prevalence would increase deaths from overdose. The main concern is we're already amid the worst overdose crisis in history, nationally and locally, Tsai told the Los Angeles Times. According to a 2022 report, xylazine has been discovered in 36 states. In New York City alone, the drug was found in 25% of samples, per the Times. Earlier this month, the San Francisco Department of Health announced that low levels of xylazine were found in the system of 4 people who overdosed, suggesting that the substance can be hidden in drugs unbeknownst to the users. It's possible that it's more out there, warned Tsai, and more than likely, it is more out there. But pay very close attention to when it comes to these drug overdoses, when it comes to anybody else who these drug epidemics or these drug phases harm. We have to treat them like it's a disease. When it comes to particular communities, we have to lock these people up and call it a war on crime. It's not a disease drug epidemic. So let me ask you guys a question in the comment section. Why do you think that is? And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, watch the video all the way through to the end. And if you're not subscribed to my backup channels, hit the links at the end of the video, and I will catch you all on the next one. All right? Peace.